All right, so now we're going to look at requirement 2, an income statement for each year based on full costing. So what that means is we're going to create an income statement using the full costing or absorption costing approach, as it's sometimes called, which is basically the GAAP income statement. So first we're going to start with sales. And we'll notice that in the first year we sell 4,000 units at $10 a unit, and so our total sales revenue is $40,000. Our cost of goods sold, we are going to sell the same 4,000 units, and under absorption or full costing, our cost per unit is the $3.30 per unit we came up with before. So our cost of goods sold will be $13,200. And so our gross margin will be $26,800. From that, we're going to subtract our selling and administrative costs. And we've got both fixed and variable. Our fixed selling and administrative costs, our marketing costs, our fixed administrative cost is $2,000. And our variable is $1 per unit. So we've got 4,000 units sold at $1 per unit. So our variable selling and admin cost is $4,000. And so our total selling and admin is $6,000, and then our net operating income, subtract our 6 from our 26,800, and our net operating income for year 1 is $20,800. Now we can do the same thing for year 2. In year 2, what happens in year 2? We sell 4,700 units at $10 a piece. And so we have $47,000 of revenue. We have the same 4,700 units of cost of goods sold. Because our units produced was the same, our production cost was the same, our cost per unit is the same, so $3.30. So our cost of goods sold is a little bit higher than last year because we sold more units. That's okay, we have more revenue. So our total cost of goods sold is $15,510. Subtract that from our revenue to get our gross margin of $26,800. Our fixed administrative cost is the same as it was before, $2,000. It's fixed. We have no reason to expect it to change. Our variable cost is still $1 per unit at 4,700 units. So our total variable S&A is 4,700. So our total S&A cost in year 2 is 6,700, and so our net operating income is $24,790. Now this makes perfect sense. Let me put a title here. This is the full costing income statement. So this makes perfect sense that sales went up by 700 units, so our net operating income is going to go up. So that all makes perfect sense. That is our income statement under full costing. Now let's do our variable costing income statement, which is the same thing as our contribution margin format income statement. Sales are going to be exactly the same for both years. Don't have any difference there. Next thing, we're going to subtract our variable costs. And so we're going to have our production costs, 4,000 units sold. Actually, I should just do that. Oops, 4,000 units sold. And our cost per unit under variable costing is simply our $1.80 per unit of variable costs. That'll be the same for both years. And so our variable production cost is $7,200 in year 1, $84.60 in year 2. And we also have to include our marketing costs because they're variable. And those will go in there at $1 per unit. And then we have total variable costs. Now notice that we can't really compare cost of goods sold and total variable cost because they're trying to do different things. So I wouldn't take gross margin and contribution margin and compare them or something like that. You sort of have to look at these two things almost independently because they are really different measures, even though they're both subtotals in the middle of the income statement and they're kind of similarly named and they're similar in dollar value. They're never going to match up exactly, so don't really try to compare contribution margin to gross margin or variable cost to cost of goods sold. Next thing we have to subtract is our fixed costs. We've got production costs. Our fixed production costs over here are $67.50. That doesn't change. And we've got administrative costs of $2,000. And so our total fixed costs $87.50 in both years. Notice it's the same even though sales goes up because it's fixed. And our net operating income. Contribution minus fixed cost is net operating income. So in year 1, under the variable costing approach, we have $20,050 of net operating income. In year 2, we have $25,090. Now again, if we just look at this by itself, we don't compare it to anything else. We look at these, we go, okay, it makes sense. Sales go up, contribution margin goes up, fixed costs stay the same, net operating income goes up. So we've got a variable costing approach to understanding net operating income that makes sense by itself. And we've also got a full costing approach to net income that makes sense by itself. The difficulty comes when we're trying to make sense of these two things. Why are they different? And that's what our next requirement will be. And I just skipped this. This is requirement 3 to do the variable costing income statement. So in requirement 4, we will reconcile and explain why net income under year 1 is $750 different, depending on the costing method we use, and why net income in year 2 is $300 different, depending on the costing method that we use. So stay tuned for our next video.